Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, back again with another video, and today I'm setting up my husband's bullet journal for March with a 70s inspired theme. This was a bit of a throwback. Well, it's a literal throwback to the 70s, but it's also a throwback because the first time I ever made a bullet journal for my husband years ago now, I set it up with a 70s inspired theme. So I feel like I'm going back to my roots and it's lots of fun. So for this setup, I'm using 3 colors of acrylographs and a black pen, and that's it. Really simple, not very many supplies. Of course, if you don't have acrylographs at home, you could use any paint pen, you could use actual paint, you could use markers or colored pencils, whatever you have on hand. And the color palette here is a really nice and simple warm color palette of peach, yellow, and orange. So the cover page is really the big design piece of this setup. It's sort of the wow factor, and the other spreads are a little more simple. So this cover page took me quite a while to do, but with some editing magic, I've made this video a lot shorter, more compact for those of you at home. So for the cover page, I decided to start with the lettering itself, and I wanted the letters to be peach with an orange outline. So I'm starting with the peach, and I've sketched out my pattern for this spread, as well as the letters ahead of time. And then I erased any extraneous pencil marks so that I would just have the lines that I was following, since this is quite a busy pattern and I didn't want to get confused and fill in the wrong spot. Even though the nice thing about acrylographs, and one of the reasons I chose them, is that they are opaque and they layer on top of each other really well. So if you do make a mistake when you're using an acrylograph, it's actually really easy to wait for them to dry and then just go over them with another color, even a lighter color. And it's really not an issue at all, which very much helps with something as complicated as this. So as you can see on the right, I have March, and on the left for my quote, and I'm doing air quotes when I say quote because it's not really a quote, but for my saying for this spread, I chose, "Can you dig it?" because it just feels like a very 70s thing to say. I almost put groovy instead, but I decided against it. At first, I was thinking of just starting from the top center and working my way down and out, cycling through my colors, but I ended up deciding that it would actually probably be easier to work one color at a time, especially when I realized that this was going to take me a while and I was going to want to use some editing magic to speed this up. So while I started with that yellow in the top center, I switched back to my peach and decided to do all of the peach areas first. So as you can see, as I start to fill in these areas, this is a very loose, wiggly, sort of psychedelic pattern inspired by some 70s art prints that I found on Pinterest. And in the end, the peach is going to almost look like the background of the pattern with the yellow and the orange on top. Once I finished filling in all of the sections that I had designated to be peach sections, I moved over to orange. So I grabbed my orange acrylograph. And again, thanks to some editing magic, I quickly filled in those orange stripes. And then I did the exact same thing with my yellow acrylograph. I am so happy with how this pattern turned out, but oh my goodness, it took so long. And my hand, oh no, my hand was cramping so bad. It's a few days later and my hand still hurts. So just beware, take it slow if you're trying this at home. Once the whole pattern was dry, I went in with my orange acrylograph to outline the lettering just to make it nice and bold and clean. Once that first spread was finished, I flipped over to the next one to create the monthly calendar. I'm keeping this super simple, a 2-page monthly calendar. And for the calendar itself, I'm just using a Secure Micron, the 0.5 size nib, just very simple, and using the 0.1 nib to write in all the numbers. I considered using acrylographs to make the calendar itself, but I feel like in the past when I've done this, I ended up not really liking the final result. For whatever reason, I prefer when the calendar is black, even if the rest of the pattern has no black in it whatsoever. Maybe that's just a me thing. You can let me know in the comments if you felt the same. But I did want to bring in that 70s inspired pattern into the spread as well, while keeping it a lot more minimal. So for this spread, I just added a little touch, a little taste, a flavor of the 70s with one stripe of each color in the top left-hand corner and the bottom right-hand corner. And then of course the March header in that same 70s inspired font. And then also adding the little headers for the days of the week, Sunday through Saturday, in that same font, although I decided to just do them in peach and not do an outline, just so that they wouldn't stand out too much and pull the focus from the main header. Flipping over to the final spread, which is just the first page of my husband's notes pages where he takes notes, as the name would imply. And again, using that good old editing magic to do this really quick for you. So that is this setup, completely finished. I hope you liked this one. It was really fun to go back and do something 70s inspired again. I love this color palette, just so good. My husband and I share a love of 70s aesthetics, and he was really excited about this. He was wowed by the cover page, so I was really excited to give him something that he enjoyed and something pretty different from what he made for himself last month in his bullet journal. If you missed his setup last month, definitely check it out. I will link it in the card and in the description box. He set up his own bullet journal last month for the first time ever, and he did such a good job. It looked amazing, so definitely check that out if you missed it. And of course, check out my setup in my bullet journal if you haven't seen that yet. My setup is a little simpler this month, but still has my signature style and a little bit of gold in there. It's very fresh and spring inspired, so check that one out if you missed it. Before I go, I want to take a quick second to thank my patrons for their support. Extra special thanks to our newest patrons, Andrea, Ivy, Nina, Stephanie, Relyn, Lana, Liz, Benti, Helen, and Catherine. Welcome all of you to the squad. We are so excited to have you. If you at home want to join the squad, feel free. There's a link in the card and in the description box down below. And with that, I'm going to get going. Thank you so much for watching this video. Leave an orange or yellow or peach emoji in the comments if you made it all the way to the end, so I know you're a real one. And I'll see you really soon in my next one. Bye, friends.